I was trying to bicycle kick a soccer ball in my living room when it flew straight into my mom's vase. I dove for it but caught air, and it shattered on the floor. My hands flew to my mouth. That was Grandma's vase, given to Mom before she died, and Mom had told me 100 times not to touch it. Mom was upstairs washing her hair, so I grabbed the super glue and tried to piece it together, but the cracks spread like a spider web and it fell apart. I knew I was cooked. I wrapped the pieces in paper towels, shoved them in the trash, and put a candle on the empty shelf. I dropped onto the couch with my Switch as Mom came down. "You hungry? I'm starting dinner." "Yeah, I'm starving." She walked toward the kitchen but stopped at the shelf, tilting her head. "Where's Grandma's vase?" Sweat shot down my face. "Wasn't it always like that?" She picked up the candle. "It was right here this morning. Maria came today, didn't she?" Maria was our cleaning lady, and Mom was already calling her back. I almost told the truth twice before Maria got there. Maria walked back in, still in her cleaning clothes, and Mom led her to the empty shelf. "My grandma's vase is gone. You're the only other person who was in here." Maria's hands shook. "Ma'am, I swear to God I didn't even go near that shelf." "I'm sorry, Maria. Pack your bags. I can't have someone in my house I can't trust." Maria stood there waiting for someone to say something. She picked up her bag and walked past me to the door. She didn't look at me, and I didn't look at her either. The door closed behind her, and the house went quiet. Maria had 3 kids. She'd shown me their school pictures every time she came over. I'm 27 now, and I still haven't told my mom what really happened that night, but I've carried the guilt with me the entire time. I tell myself I was just a kid back then who didn't know better. I was trying. A bully named George shoved my best friend Ellie off the top of the jungle gym, and she hit the wood chip so hard the whole playground went silent. I ran over and she was crying, holding her wrist funny, and George just stood up there laughing like it was nothing. She was in my spot. The teacher was all the way across the playground, too far to have seen it, and George knew it. He always waited for exactly that moment. I helped Ellie up. "Don't worry, I won't let him get away with this." I knew that George was allergic to bees, so while he was still up on the jungle gym bragging to the other kids about how high his spot was, I walked over to the flower bed by the fence and found a big fat bumblebee sitting on a flower. I gently plucked it off the flower and walked back over to the jungle gym. "George, I've got something for you." Ellie tilted her head at me. "What are you doing?" I winked. "Just watch." George climbed down and walked right up to me. "What is it?" I shoved the bee onto his arm and it stung him. He tripped over his own feet trying to get away, landing hard on his backside in front of half the playground. Then he screamed so loud a teacher came running. "What happened?" George was wailing and pointing at me. "He stung me with a bee." The teacher looked at me, obviously confused. "You stung him with a bee?" I shook my head. "I don't have a bee, Mrs. Worley." Ellie spoke up. "How would he even do that?" George's face started to swell up, so she dropped it and quickly helped him up. "Come on, buddy. We have to go get your EpiPen." George stomped away, still sniffling, throwing me one last furious look over his shoulder. I gave him a smug little smile. "Don't mess with my friend again." A bully named George shoved. I hit a huge home run and was about to celebrate, but the catcher suddenly pushed me to the ground. "Cheater, you cheated!" He ripped his mask off and pointed at my bat in the dirt. "Check his bat. He's cheating." My eyes widened as I looked up at him. "Dude, that's not funny. Is this because the scouts chose me over you?" "Shut up. Check his bat." The umpire pushed his glasses up his nose and slowly picked it up. My jaw clenched. My own bat had felt heavy during warm-ups, so I'd grabbed a spare off the rack. But if this random bat had weights in it, I would lose the scout's offer, and my entire life would be ruined. The ump turned the bat over in his hands, then stopped on a scuff near the barrel, and his whole face went red. I see something. My hands started sweating. He called time and waved my run off the board. 12,000 people came down on me at once. The catcher cackled as loud as he could. "See, I knew he was cheating." But the ump adjusted his glasses and shook his head. "Wait, false alarm." My glasses were cloudy. The catcher's body locked up as the ump turned to him. "This bat is clean." I smirked and nodded my head, but then the catcher's hands started trembling. No way that's clean." The ump told him to get back behind the plate, and he lost it. "Unscrew the knob." I put it in there myself. The field went silent. His own dugout stood up, and his own coach asked, "Did he just say he put something in there?" The ump unscrewed the knob and turned it over, but nothing came out. Every head on the field turned to me, so I announced, "That's not my bat. Mine's still in the dugout." So he walked to our dugout, pulled my bat, and tipped it over the plate. 3 lead weights rolled out into the dirt. The catcher's eyes lit up. "See? I told you there's no way the bat's clean. I put those in myself so the scouts would regret choosing him over me." He was nodding and smiling, but the ump put one hand on his shoulder and waved over security. "Get this idiot off the field." Security walked him off, and my run went back up. I hit a grandma walked into my cafe with her little oxygen waster grandson, and as soon as she opened her mouth to order, he snapped his grimy fingers at her. "You're taking too long, bruh. Let me just..." I was swallowing my daily vitamin when it got lodged in my throat and my airway slammed shut. I grabbed at my neck, wheezing, and waved at my girlfriend of 2 years across the kitchen to help me. But she laughed. "You're fine, bruh. Just swallow it." She'd been acting weird all week, but this was a new level. I slapped the counter, pointing at my neck with my mouth wide open. But she rolled her eyes like I was being dramatic. Why wasn't she panicking while I suffocated right in front of her? Finally, she walked over, but instead of hitting my back, she tilted my head back and shoved a glass of water at my lips. "Stop choking and just wash it down." The water flooded my throat and the pill sank deeper. My wheezing turned into suffocating and my vision started spotting. I needed to do something quick, so on my own, I doubled over the counter and gagged, and the pill inched up, almost free. But she yanked me upright by the collar and forced my chin up. "No, keep it down. Swallow it." It lodged worse than before, and now I couldn't make a single sound. I mouthed, "Are you trying to kill me?" And my legs buckled as she stood over me. Then she got angry. "You're pissing me off. Why won't you just swallow it?" That's when it hit me. She wasn't failing to save me. She was actually trying to kill me. So I threw myself stomach first onto the back of a chair, and the pill shot out of my mouth and skidded across the floor. I gasped because I noticed the color. My vitamins were white, but this one was baby blue. I picked it up and read the letters stamped into it. Fentanyl. My stomach dropped because choking is the only thing that saved me. But who would try to kill me? Then I looked up, and my girlfriend held out 5 more baby blue pills in her palm and a glass of water. "You were supposed to swallow it. Now swallow these." My blood went cold. "Why are you trying to kill me, you freak?" She crossed her arms. "I saw you like another girl's post on Instagram. That's why." I'd been driving Uber for 6 hours and was ready to call it a night when a girl threw herself into my back seat. "Please help. My friend is having a seizure and needs a ride to the hospital." She had tears streaming down her face and her hands were shaking as she pointed me toward a side street. "She's just a few blocks that way. I'll explain everything on the way." She looked really scared, so I quickly started driving the direction she had pointed. The girl started wiping her tears with her sleeve. "My roommate has epilepsy, but she hasn't had an episode in years, so I didn't know what to do, and I couldn't get her in my car alone. I asked if we should call an ambulance, and she shook her head hard. It's faster this way, and she doesn't have insurance." She kept glancing at her phone, telling me turn after turn to take until I was in a part of the city I didn't usually drive through this late. My stomach tightened with every unfamiliar street sign, and my hands gripped the wheel harder than they needed to. Just 2 more blocks. I noticed her hands had stopped shaking, but I told myself it was just her calming down now that help was close. She had me pull into an alley behind a row of closed shops. She's just past the dumpsters. She didn't want anyone to see her like this. I killed the engine and started to get out to help carry her roommate, and that's when I saw that the girl in my rearview mirror wasn't crying anymore. She was smiling. 2 guys stepped out from behind the dumpsters and tore my door open before I could react. "Nice guys like you make this so easy." They took my wallet, my phone, and my keys, while the girl stood off to the side with her arms crossed. They left me standing in that alley with nothing but the clothes on my back, and I had to walk 2 miles in the dark before my hands stopped shaking enough to knock on a stranger's door and ask to use their phone. The police never found her, the guys, or my car. I still drive for a living, but now I keep my doors locked and only pick up passengers confirmed through the Uber app. I'd been driving. I rubbed my grandpa's dusty lamp and yelled, "I wish Amelia loves Ian more than anything else in the world." This was my last hope to get together with my crush Amelia after being rejected by her 6 times. I threw the lamp away and jumped around the room in celebration because Amelia was now guaranteed to fall in love with Ian, or in other words, me. So the next morning, I strutted into school with my head held high, already picturing her obsessing over me by lunch. But as soon as I sat down in my class, our teacher walked in with a new transfer kid who was 6 feet tall and looked twice as attractive as me. He introduced himself. "What's up, everyone? My name is Ian," and my pencil froze mid-sentence, because that was my name too. Even the teacher pointed it out. "Well, Ian can sit next to Ian then." Other students laughed as he walked his long legs and took the desk next to mine. This kid was stealing my identity in broad daylight, and I wanted to knock his teeth out, but I saw Amelia glance back at us, so I sat up straighter, because the wish was clearly kicking in already. All I had to do now was meet Amelia during recess. At recess, I finally spotted Amelia down the hallway, so I waved frantically, certain she was about to fall in love with me. But she sprinted right past me and leapt into the other Ian's arms, screaming, "Ian! I love you, Ian!" My wish had come true. Word for word, she loved Ian more than anything else in the world. Just the wrong one. My mouth fell open in shock, and I tipped face first into the recycling bin and stayed there with my legs sticking out while the school cheered on the new couple. I I tiptoed over every creaky floorboard to the front door and successfully lifted my secret DoorDash Meat Lovers Supreme Pizza off the porch at 2 a.m. But when I turned around, I saw my 6-year-old brother watching me in the dark. He held out one hand, one bite. I hugged the box and shook my head no. So he laid down on the floor and opened his mouth to scream and throw a tantrum so I'd get caught. I immediately crouched down in a panic because if Mom found out, she'd ground me for the entire summer. I shoved a slice into his hands and whisper shouted, "Wait, wait, wait. Take this, you monster. It's pepperoni, your favorite. Just be quiet." He sat up and started chewing, so I got ready to walk away, already smelling the 7 other juicy slices waiting to melt on my tongue. But then I heard him gulp down hard on his final bite, and when I glanced back, he was flat on his back, getting ready to throw another tantrum. I sighed because he was abusing his power, and I knew the only way to win was to play a different game. So I dropped the box between us to share and started stuffing my face, trying to eat more slices than him. When he realized what I was doing, his eyes went huge, and he dove in, and his blackmail became an eating contest. We crammed slices with both hands into our mouths until our cheeks were so filled we looked like chipmunks, and sauce dripped down our faces, and neither of us were thinking about being quiet anymore. We were on slice number 6 when the top stair creaked and the hallway lights snapped on. Mom stood at the bottom of the stairs with her arms crossed, and we froze mid-bite. My brother pointed at me with a crust still in his fist. "He ordered it!" Mom crouched to his level. "You're both grounded for the entire summer." She took the box and dropped the last slice in her mouth as she marched us up the stairs. He leaned over and whispered, "Don't look at me. You should have just ordered 2. I tiptoed over.
Last night.
My mom walked into the living room and saw me sitting on the carpet with a Kleenex hanging out of my mouth. "Spit that out right now!" I spit it onto the carpet and she grabbed my shoulders. "You cannot eat tissues. Do you understand me?" I nodded, but I didn't understand because I was only 5 and I liked how they dissolved into this soft mush on my tongue, so I just got sneakier about it. I started eating them in my room I walked into the school gym with a plastic gun and fake blood covering my shirt, ready to win the annual costume contest. I saw kids dressed in mummies and skeletons, but then a kid stumbled in wearing just jeans and a plain white shirt. I tapped him with my fake gun and asked why he entered without a costume, but when he turned around, his entire face was gray. He was clutching his stomach and dropped to the floor, and blood instantly began pooling under him. I gripped my head wondering if this was real, but then I saw a bullet wound in his back. A girl screamed, and suddenly every head snapped towards me. They saw me standing over a bleeding out kid, holding a gun with blood on my shirt. "He shot him!" someone yelled as a teacher crouched behind a student to call 911. I instantly threw my hands up. "It's fake! My gun is a costume! This wasn't me!" I held my pistol up to prove it, but everyone instantly started climbing over each other to get away from me. I didn't know what to do, wondering if there was a real shooter in this building, and just dropped down and gripped the kid's shoulder. "Please get up. Tell them I didn't shoot you." But he wouldn't move even when I shook him. I couldn't hear him breathing, and his blood kept spreading under my knees. My hands trembled as I threw my plastic gun across the floor, and suddenly I felt kids tackle me and pin me to the ground, twisting my arms. That's when the doors slammed open. 2 cops ran in while teachers and students screamed I'd shot someone. They drove their knees into my back, and I cried as the cuffs clicked shut behind my back. I was still thrashing and screaming I didn't do this, when suddenly I heard clapping. The principal was on his feet, grinning, while everyone stared at him horrified. He ran towards me and wrapped a gold medal around the neck of the kid on the ground. What a costume. This is why my son is the best. He smiled, and suddenly the kid sat up, alive and well. My jaw dropped as he spat an empty bag of fake blood out of his mouth, and when I looked closer, I saw the bullet in his backup was just makeup. He stood up and raised his hand. My costume was to pretend to be shot, but the cops uncuffed me and immediately cuffed him instead. Pretending to be shot at school was also your crime. You're coming with us. I walked in. I clinked glasses with my wife and toasted to never having kids. She smiled. "This is why I love you. You're okay with never having filthy gremlins running around." But then my phone rang, and when I picked it up, an officer said, "We're so sorry. Please come to Orchard Fostering Agency right now." My blood ran cold as I told my wife I needed to go. I walked into the agency with my legs shaking and saw my 8-year-old niece, Lucy, hugging her teddy. Her eyes were red. I knelt down. "What's wrong, sweetheart?" "Daddy's dead," she replied without looking at me. I felt my legs buckle because my little brother was dead. But before I could even think, a woman tapped my shoulder. Lucy wouldn't talk to any of us. She asked for her Uncle Dan specifically. "If you can't take her tonight, she'll have to go into the foster system." I said I'll take her in before my brain could think. We climbed into my car, and my hands shook on the wheel. I told my wife I'd never have kids, but when I looked at Lucy sobbing into her bear, I knew I couldn't abandon her. We pulled in, and I walked inside with a lump in my throat. My wife saw Lucy and immediately sneered, "What's she doing here?" Lucy jumped, but I told her to stay down and and asked my wife to please talk upstairs. She slammed her fork and followed me while Lucy sat on the couch. She slammed the door while tapping her foot, and I explained everything. My brother's death, Lucy asking for me, her being thrown into foster care unless we took her. But my wife didn't even hug me. She clenched her jaw, and her first words were immediately, "We promised we'd have no kids." She stormed out and stomped downstairs before I could react. I followed her, but she was already in Lucy's face. "We're not raising you. I'm sorry about your dad, but you're not staying. Now go pack your bags while I call the foster agency." My face dropped in horror because she'd already grabbed her phone, and Lucy actually stood up. She grabbed her bear and walked towards the door like she was going to leave, and that's when I called out, "No, Lucy's staying." My wife put her phone down and turned to me. "No, she should stop being selfish and putting this mess on us. It's not our fault she got unlucky with her dad." Lucy said quietly, "It's okay, I'll just leave." But I shook my head and got in my wife's face. "That's my brother you're talking about, and Lucy's staying." I stomped my foot, and my wife stepped back. "Okay then, choose, me or that stupid girl." I looked at Lucy, then at my wife. "Easiest decision I've ever made. You just showed me your true colors. Get out of my house." Her jaw dropped, and she threw a wine glass at me before storming out and slamming my door. Lucy was still crying as I dropped down and hugged her. "Uncle Dan's got you, sweetheart. You're staying. We're gonna help each other get through this." We sobbed into each other's arms. I never saw my wife again, but 10 years later, I sat at Lucy's graduation, holding her bear and watching her get her diploma as she smiled at me. She's still my niece, but she's also my daughter too. I clinked glasses with I opened the trivia game during my flight and typed my name in as Aaron Baum because my dad was from Thailand and Baum was my surname. But when a flight attendant walked by and saw Baum on my screen, she immediately speed-walked to the pilot. I thought nothing and kept answering chemistry questions, but then the pilot's voice came on. "We're making an emergency landing. Nobody panic." I was confused until 2 crew members showed up to my seat. "Please come with us." I stood and followed them, my heart pounding. In the cockpit, the co-pilot closed the curtains and calmly said, "We know you have a bomb on this plane." I immediately shook my head, but a flight attendant was already zip-tying my wrists so tight my fingers tingled. She pulled a tablet with the trivia game I'd been playing. "You put your username as Aaron Baum. We know you're making a discreet bomb threat." I almost laughed, explaining Aaron Baum was just my name, but the co-pilot was already calling Bomb Squad and FBI through his radio. "The best thing you can do right now is admit you're guilty. You're already getting 25 years minimum." Then a passenger pulled open our curtain. "I'm flying to my daughter's heart surgery. She could die and I might not be there to hold her hand. Do we really need to emergency land?" He was sweating, but the pilot held up his hand. "I'm sorry about your daughter, but this is more serious." A flight attendant escorted him to his seat without another word. We continued descending, and they kept asking if the bomb was on a timer and how I snuck it past security. I begged to show them my passport, but they never let me. When we made our emergency landing, 2 FBI officers rushed into the cockpit with a bomb squad holding my bag. They carefully unzipped it. "Where's the bomb?" They tossed all my things to the floor, and I again said, "I don't have one. Aaron Baum is my name." That's when the bomb squad member squinted. He opened my passport. "Says here Aaron Baum is just his name." The whole crew went silent as they looked at my passport. Aaron Baum. The flight attendant turned to me. "We're sorry, Mr. Baum. We can offer you a $15 meal voucher for the misunderstanding." I opened the trivia game during my flight and typed my name in as Aaron Baum because my dad was from I was reaching for a Sprite at the grocery store when I noticed a gap behind the fridge, big enough to crawl through. My mom was busy shopping up front, so I climbed in to explore. But when I popped out the other side, 2 big masked men froze and stared at me, and one was holding a gun. My heart started pounding, but then the shorter one crouched down. "Hey buddy, wanna play a game? Help us out and you can have all the chips and soda you want." This felt weird, but my mom never let me have snacks at home, so I nodded yes, not knowing how crazy things would get. The tall one boosted me up to a small window above a locked door. "Here's the game. Crawl through, open the door, and grab the treasure inside, but be super quiet." So I wiggled through, but I knocked over a whole stack of boxes by accident. Crash! A worker called from the front. "Everything okay back there?" The men ducked, the gun pressed flat against the wall, but I just giggled and unlocked the door. Inside was a room full of money, and they said the cash was the treasure, so I stuffed it into a bag as fast as I could. I was having so much fun that I dropped a handful right as footsteps came toward the door, and they yanked me into the shadows until the footsteps walked away. But reaching for the last stack, my elbow bumped a little red button, and a silent light started flashing. The men's faces went white, and the tall one shoved the heavy bag into my arms. "Quick! You got the treasure! Now run it to the white van outside, fast! If anyone asks, your dad's waiting for you." So I hugged the bag tight and ran, the chips and soda motivating me to go faster. I ran out the front doors, but the parking lot was full of police cars with their lights spinning. I walked past them toward the white van, hugging my treasure, but a cop stepped in front of me. "Whoa, where you headed, buddy?" I grinned up at him. "I'm bringing the treasure to the van. My dad's waiting, and I get chips and soda if I hurry." But he looked skeptical. receptacle, unzipped the bag, and his eyes went wide at all the cash. "Son, who gave this to you?" I pointed towards the back. "The nice guys in the back." I crawled through the window and opened the door for them. His face changed, and he grabbed his radio. Minutes later, they dragged the two masked men out in handcuffs, and everyone was calling me a little hero. I didn't get why, but the police gave me all the chips and soda as a reward. But before I could open it, my mom rushed in and took the snacks right out of my hands. "No snacks!" I was reaching. My friends and I were in the backyard blasting my older brother's exclusive Nerf blaster when he ripped it out of my hands and shoved me like he always does. "You're too much of a baby to even hold this. Get your loser friends out of here. I'm telling Mom you stole it." My friend's faces dropped, so I yelled, "I'm not a baby. I can shoot better than you." He smirked and pointed at a tiny can on the fence across the yard. "Fine, hit that in one shot and you can keep the blaster. Miss, and your friends are banned for good. And I'm telling Mom." He tossed me the blaster, laughing, because he knew I'd never made a shot like that in my life. My friends gathered behind me, hyping me up. As I raised the blaster and lined up the tiny can across the yard, I took a slow breath and steadied my aim, dead on it, and I smiled, knowing I was finally about to prove him wrong. But the second my finger squeezed the trigger, my brother shoved me hard in the back, and the dart flew way off to the side, sailing toward the fence. He burst out laughing as I hit the dirt. "You're pathetic. I knew a little baby like you couldn't do it." My friends erupted, screaming that he cheated, but he didn't care. He just cupped his hands and yelled for Mom while waving them off. "Get out of here. You're all banned losers." Then he ripped the blaster out of my hands and leaned down over me. "You'll never prove me wrong." But then one of my friends started jumping up and down, screaming, "He's a goat! He's the goat!" My brother smirked and puffed out his chest. "Yeah, I know I am." "Not you, you idiot, your brother." My brother spun around and his face went pale. My dart had ricocheted off the fence post and stuck dead center on the can. His own shove is what landed the shot. That doesn't count. Right then, the back door opened, and Mom came out. "Someone called me." My brother opened his mouth, but I stood up and pointed at him. He shoved me on the ground and called all my friends losers. Mom marched over, grabbed him by the ear, and dragged him inside, grounding him as he flailed his arms and cried. I turned to my friends and held out the blaster. Turns out I only needed one shot to prove him wrong.
I need a
The teacher handed me back a test with F-, written in bright red ink. I couldn't believe it. I had stayed up the entire night before, studying. A police officer stormed over to me and my wife's car with his hand already on his holster. I rolled the window down and he leaned in. "You know why I pulled you over? You've got a child in this vehicle with no booster seat." I instantly whipped around and checked my own back seat. "Officer, there's no child in this car. We don't even have children." My wife stayed quiet beside me, hands buried in her hoodie pocket. He pulled out his pad and clicked his pen. "Are you sure about that?" I laughed. "Sir, I think I'd know if I had a kid." I turned to my wife for backup, but she was facing her window and her legs were shaking, and I knew she was nervous. His thumb popped the snap on his holster. "Sir, check the vehicle again." My hands came off the wheels slowly. I gently turned around, and I knew something extremely strange was going on. When I turned back, a pregnancy test was an inch from my nose. I looked closer and saw 2 pink lines. "Surprise!" My wife was laughing so hard she could barely speak. "You're gonna be a dad." The cop tore the page off his pad and passed it through my window. "Congratulations, Dad." The whole stop was a setup, because there really was a child in my car. It just hadn't been born yet. He tapped the roof twice and headed back to his cruiser. "Get that booster seat sorted. You've got about 7 months. A police.
All right, guys, we're playing Who's the
The officer slid a plastic evidence bag across his desk and said, "Your daughter got caught pickpocketing 6 people outside the local 7-Eleven. Her haul covered the counter, 6 wallets, 2 phones, a cooler of raw salmon." Daisy swung her legs and giggled like we were all having fun. "My friend taught me to do it, Daddy." I asked gently. "Which friend?" She grinned. "You haven't met him. He's shy. A boy was teaching my sweet daughter how to steal, and I was going to find out who." As soon as we got home, I called her teacher, asking if she'd noticed any strange behavior at school. She laughed. "Absolutely not. Your daughter is an angel. She sits in the staff room with the other teachers during lunch." I clenched my fists because I wasn't going to stop until I found out who it was. That night, while she watched Bluey, I went through her room and found dirt marks by her windowsill. My heart was pounding, and when I pulled back the curtain, there were huge paw prints and claw marks everywhere. Was someone forcing her to sneak in a pet? When she went to sleep, I waited outside her room to see what was going on, and at 1 a.m., she tiptoed towards her door and slowly creaked it open. I hid behind a coat tree and watched her sneak into the yard, so I grabbed a flashlight and followed. She cut straight to the 7-Eleven, and a shape rose from the dark by the back door. I put my hand on my pepper spray, getting ready to attack the man hurting my daughter, until it stepped into the streetlight, an 8-foot grizzly bear. My mouth opened in shock. The bad influence corrupting my daughter was a grizzly bear. Before I could move, Daisy ran straight at it and hugged its leg. The bear shoved open the door of the 7-Eleven, and Daisy strolled in behind him, and the cashier immediately put his hands in the air. "Not again. Take anything you want." The bear cornered him, and Daisy giggled as she grabbed honey, salmon, and Twizzlers. When they walked out, they split the hall and high-fived each other. She waved me out of the bushes. "Dad, this is Steve. He's my best friend." Steve sized me up and nudged the salmon at my feet. I took the fish. The officer slid a plastic I just entered the bathroom of my girlfriend's house when I sneezed so hard that the zipper on my dress pants tore clean off. I went pale and tried to put it back, but they fell right down to my toes. I had worn these pants to impress my girlfriend's grandfather, who was waiting for me downstairs. She'd warned me he had never approved of a single boyfriend she brought home, but their 2 cats had been circling my ankles all night, and I was allergic to both, which is why I'd escaped to the bathroom. I heard my girlfriend's mother calling, "Dinner's on the table." I had to fix this quickly before my girlfriend's family saw me. I yanked my shirt loose and tucked it down deep, but it rode right back up and left me hanging out. So I dug a paperclip from my pocket and bent it across the fly to pin it shut. It held one breath before it snapped and pinged into the sink. A knock rattled the door, and my girlfriend's voice came through. "Babe, everyone's waiting on you." I couldn't get the words out, so I fell in behind her and speed walked to my chair, dropping in. Under the tablecloth, I shoved my hand in my pocket and pinched the waistband shut. Then one of the cats curled around my ankle under the table, and my nose started to burn. Grandpa watched me over his wine like he was deciding. One thumb hooked behind a belt buckle the size of a saucer, but Grandma leaned in and slid a dish of potatoes across to me. "Be a dear and pass these down." It took both hands, so I let go, passed it, and slapped my hand back under. My waistband slipped an inch, but I caught it, my heart slamming. My shirt was soaked through when she pushed back her chair and beamed at me. "Come help me carry the roast, sweetheart. A big strong boy like you needs the workout." I walked to the kitchen and got both hands under a roasting pan the size of a car tire. 3 steps back into the dining room, that same cat crossed right in front of me, and I sneezed so hard the waistband ripped out of my grip. My pants dropped straight to my ankles. There I stood in my tung sahur boxers, holding the roast. Nobody made a sound. Grandpa set his wine down, pushed back his chair, and stood up. He reached down and unbuckled that saucer-sized belt. I closed my eyes and waited to get whooped, but then he spoke. "Here, take mine. I tore my pants on my first visit to my girlfriend's too. Welcome to the family, son." I set the roast down and buckled his belt around my ruined pants, while the whole table came apart laughing, and for once, I laughed along with them. I just entered the bathroom of my girlfriend's house when I sneezed so hard that the zipper on my dress pants tore clean off. I went pale and tried to put it back, but they fell right down to my toes.